Hey everyone, welcome to Pastor Play. So today we have Tyler Perry's Zatima, Season 2, Episode 3, titled Close Quarters. Alright, so we open up with Zach willing after the meeting with his mother from the night before and bringing up the old wounds of her addiction and abandoning him again all the times that he was a kid, but now as an adult being ditched again for $100. Now, his mother does need treatment, but she has to want it for herself, and that doesn't seem to be the case. I don't think that that's what she wants. She seems quite comfortable, saying that she's getting help and getting better, but then clearly lying because she didn't want that money. She didn't want the money for groceries. She wanted it for drugs, and even though Zach could pretend that he's going to take his mom to the bank to get her some money, but instead drop her off at a rehab facility, not that that would actually work. And I mean, I know there are some facilities where you can, I guess, just admit someone, but I believe that it has to be, the person has to, want to be there by choice. Now Zach does have a complicated history with his mother and brother, but really needs to think about the safety and well-being of his son with the stripper baby mama. And I forgot this lady's name again. And the one on the way with Karen. Does he want them around, his mother and brother? And all the dealings that they got going on, because the brother is still clearly selling drugs or whatever at the trap house or the halfway house, wherever they're at. And the mother is a part of all of that, saying that they gotta keep money. He said, "What did you do with the money I had?" It's like, so if you spend his money on drugs and then you keep selling more drugs, but then you also an addict, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, neither Zach's brother or mother ultimately is good for him to be around because of what they're doing and just their overall behavior. And then two, because he already has a kid that's already two, with the stripper baby mama, and he's gonna start having visitations with his son. And then he has another baby on the way, and then you also got Deja next door doing stunts and shows, and so it just doesn't make sense to bring his family, his brother and his mother into his life if all they're going to bring is more problems and create, more issues than he already has going on. And he's got plenty of stuff going on. So ultimately, though they are his family, Zach, he has choices to make, and he stayed away from them for a reason at the end of the day, because they're not, at the end of the day, they're not good for him. And, they're just based on what they're doing, they're not the best of people, it seems, either. Now, Zach is having some selective outrage or transference toward this new character, Paul, who offered to put a new tire on Fatima's car free of charge because he is clearly feeling her. And Zach is coming in hot and very territorial upon meeting Paul and making it clear that she is spoken for and that they are engaged. Now Zach is flexing and throwing $7 at Paul, thanking him for his service, acting hot-headed, but more aggressive than usual. It is because of the encounter with his mom from last night, and he did have a point that, you know, and he did have a point that Fatima acts the same way with Deja. Um, and yeah, I mean, he had a point that Fatima acts that way with Deja, and though Zach has acted this way before in terms of, other man looking at Fatima and things of that sort, he is out. I mean, he is on a more escalated level than Norm, and that is what Fatima is like. What's going on right now? But she kind of knows what's going on I mean, I think in just in that circumstance, you're thrown off in the heat of the moment. But at the same point, she does act that way with Deja, even though at this point Paul isn't doing necessarily all these stunts and shows. But how do we know that Paul didn't stick the nail in Fatima's tire to get an introduction? Paul could be doing stunts and shows as well. We just met this man. Who's to say he's good or bad yet? I will say Fatima likes to point out stuff about Zach, but she does not like being told about herself. And so, and you've seen that in previous episodes. Like when she wants to talk about something, she wants to do it right now. Anytime Zach brings up something that they want to talk about, she's like, let me think about it, let me process. She likes to point out your stuff, but she doesn't want to be, she wants to look at you, but she doesn't like to be looked at by, herself. And so that is something that I would say that her as a character needs to work on as well. It's like basically, I can do it, but you can't, and that's not fair at the end of the day. Because nobody's perfect. Everybody's got flaws, and Zach is starting to speak up for himself more, and he is starting to realize, I guess, some of the issues. Even though he's got a lot of stuff going on, it's not just one sided. I think they both have things that they have to get over as they, become and grow as a couple. Now we do find out that Paul is ex-military and says that the way Zach behaves is not right in front of Fatima, but Paul, Paul doesn't know that Fatima acts the same way. He may not be ready for that. He's just assuming because she's all dressed up and in the suit that she is a certain way, just based, I guess, on perception. And he likes the way that she looks and everything like that. And Paul was acting respectful of Fatima's engagement, but was still flirting and collecting intel, as far as I could see. Who says he didn't have the elevator stopped since he's the boss of that construction crew? Another coincidence, maybe, or maybe not. Then he's going to say, well, we can at least be friends. And Fatima's like, no, but my friend Angela is single. But Paul is like, no, she's not my type. But you are. But though he respects that she's engaged, and he respects that Zach is with Fatima. Now, later on, we see, and we learn this about Paul because Fatima ends up getting stuck in the elevator with Paul because she sent upstairs to let the construction crew know that there's a meeting going on downstairs, and it's hard for them to hear over all the construction work and the drilling and all that. But you learn all this about Paul when they're stuck on this elevator. So Paul and Fatima are stuck on this elevator, and this is where this happens. And then earlier with Zach, this is when he's driving Fatima to work, and this is all going on in the parking lot, underneath the building, or the parking lot near the law firm. And so then we go to Deja. She keeps playing games with the stunts and shows between Fatima and Madam. Deja's not ready. She knows that Madam is dangerous. She knows that Fatima and Madam are family, and it just doesn't make up any sense. And then the line when Fatima breaks her groceries because she's pretending like she can't move and she's hurt. Now she may be hurt from getting the beat down, but she's kind of milking it for all it's worth. And then she's like, "I need help with my groceries," and Fatima ends up taking the bag and like throwing it against the outside wall of her apartment. And and then they just like, my wine, my red wine. And then Fatima's like, the tampons will soak up that wine. So that just kind of made me laugh out loud. Um, and Deja can keep running these games, with other people, and just leave Zach alone. Like, just leave Zach alone. It's not worth it. I guess she's trying to get sympathy from Zach. She's trying to manipulate him, or I don't know. Maybe not trying to pay rent or whatever's going on, but it's not working. It's certainly not working with Fatima. And Zach is kind of in the middle, but Zach isn't like stupid. I mean, clearly she's up here trying to do something. She's playing games. And then now we're going over to Bryce. Now, Bryce led with false representation of himself in his dealings with Zach and Angela. They don't care that he's bisexual or sleeps with men. It's just that when it comes to Angela, she wants a heterosexual, man, someone who's straight, who's straight. A man who wants to be with her only. And Bryce, he lied, especially since he's been enthralled with Zach this whole time. So Angela has been keeping her distance and does not want to talk to Bryce. Does not want to talk to Bryce, but at some point she's gonna need to clear the air on that. But in this episode, we see Bryce coming to her job and threatening to come to her house if she don't call him, which I think is a bit aggressive. She says, "Don't worry, Bryce, I will call you." I guess at this point she is kind of treating him like a creep. I mean, his behavior is creepy as far as what he did towards Zach. And either way, you know, Angela says that she's going to call him, but if she doesn't call him, Bryce is just gonna come to her house and I guess bum rush in or whatever. With that case, she can just call the cops. And she's just looking at him like all side eyed at this point in this episode. And as far as Zach is working on being a better man and starting his own business, and thought Bryce was a good guy, and he may be a good guy, and wanted to help him succeed and win. That's why Zach kept kept hanging out with Bryce, because he thought that Bryce was a good person and was helping him because he was legitimately a good person and not necessarily having any ulterior motives. But now it turns out all this time, or it feels like Bryce was just trying to get into Zach's pants. Like, I was just doing all that so I could get with you. His intentions were not pure, or I mean, maybe he saw that maybe it could have been like some kind of business deal or a partnership or something like that. But Zach just thought that the guy, Bryce was a good guy and was doing it because he was just a good guy and he wanted to help Zach out. No ulterior motives. And yeah, Zach does feel a certain type of way, and that's understandable. And Bryce made, Angela feel like she was special and they were together, but he was out here trying to seduce Zach. So she has the right to feel a certain kind of way as well. Bryce is not the victim here. He has to stand in his lie and his misrepresentation. Now, this does take place in Atlanta, and I'm not saying all black people look alike, but can't Bryce find another man similar to Zach and let the Zach crush go? Now, this is Tyler Perry's show. All kind of effed up things happened to Zach when he was younger. They talked about him being kind of abandoned in the front of the gas station, and his mom is in the back giving head to a trucker. But it's quite possible that I think he was in a foster care homes. He said that too. So maybe it's possible when he was younger, maybe he was abused by men and women, just physically abused or maybe even sexually abused. I could see that happening. Zach clearly has had a traumatic childhood and maybe repressed feelings that later on we find out he is a homosexual. Tyler Perry does always use a lot of these themes in a lot of his movies and even in his shows. So he's done it before. Um, so I could see that being a way Tyler Perry could go. But I would say with the popularity of Zatima, it doesn't make sense really to do that. I would say with this show, you do have LGBT representation. Now, if Tyler Perry wants to go that route with Zach, he can, I guess. These are themes that he has done in his other shows as well. But I think the reason that the Zatima show even happened was because of the popularity that the couple had on Sisters. And so I don't see why he would do that to this particular relationship, but he could because it's a common thing that he does. But it could happen. I don't think it's gonna go that way. I hope not. I feel like I like this show. It shows that they got problems. Sometimes they got too much drama going on, but it overall is a pretty good relationship. They just have to work at it and fix the kinks and the different things in it to get it to where it needs to be. Maybe even before they get married, but as life moves on, there's always going to be something, but they certainly can work on the things that are current and prevalent now that is causing the issues and problems that they're having. And in the last episode, Fatima said that Zach needs to get some help, and that's he needs to talk to somebody. Yeah, that's very clear. And we also found out in this episode too, or at least it kind of dawned on me because there's a part in the episode where Nathan's like, me and Jeremiah be talking, which is Zach's older brother. So Nathan was most likely the one that told Zach's brother Jeremiah that he had come up and has some money now in the first place. Because again, we learned that Jeremiah and Nathan be talking. Again, Nathan is just a toxic friend. I don't even really care for his character. I don't even care about his character. Unless they're gonna have Nathan do some kind of turnaround as like a person and get over himself to be like, how is he going to pick? How is Zach going to pick Fatima over him? He's just very selfish. He only thinks about himself. I mean, even more so than Zach. I feel like Zach has more redeeming qualities. Nathan's just like an a-hole. He's selfish. He's arrogant. He's egotistical. And this is like, I just don't like his character. There are a lot of people like that too. But yeah, I just don't care for his character. It's not the best representation of anybody. But and we end up on this episode where Zach is waiting for an elevator, and when the elevator doors open, he sees Fatima and Paul kind of he sees Fatima like kind of in Paul's arms. And then we're going to go to episode 4. But let me know if you like this review. Hit the like button. If you have any comments, please comment below. Did I miss anything? Did you like the review? Please check out my other reviews, and I will see you next time. Bye.